Hi, welcome back to the channel. Episode 27 now. And today's going to be the day when I start putting things back together on the rear end of the car. So what I probably have to start with then is the brake lines which I removed to tidy up and clean the chassis a little bit. So I removed them, so they need to be replaced. Then the drive shaft needs to go in, sorry, the prop shaft. And obviously then the differential. And then we can start thinking about the bushings, the new poly bushings that I bought, and put them back together. I've been doing a little bit of research online about poly bushings, and the thing to use with them is, they're not perfect, and the thing to use with them is Teflon tape that you would use in the bathroom for sealing connections, you know, plumbing connections and that kind of stuff. So that'll stop them squeaking over the long term. Obviously, give me a good few years of use before I have to start taking them off and re-greasing them and all that kind of thing. So let's get out there and let's get started and start the reassembly. Put this brake pipe then in place. So I'll go get the drive shaft, the prop shaft, sorry. Prop shaft there's ready to go back in. Tidied it up a little bit, remove some of the rust, gave it a lick of paint, but yeah, it's not perfect by any means. But the prop shaft just slots straight in at the front, in the rear of the gearbox. So I'll try to put some protection there to stop it from scratching. The next bit to go in is going to be this differential support here. Now I was a bit unsure about whether to attach that first to the differential before putting them both as an assembly point back in, but I'll put it in first, I think, and then try and lift it pretty much exactly the way I brought it out. I've just worked out that the prop shaft has got to go in before the differential support bracket there, and that's pretty awkward to get those bolts in at the side and the those. It's quite awkward. It took me 20 minutes or so, I think, to get those in. But let me slide the drive shaft in properly now again, that the support there's in place. So the prop shaft and the mount for the differential are in, but I've just scratched a little bit at the top, sort of there, so I'll just get a bit of touch-up paint and sort that out to prevent further corrosion. So I've managed to install the differential and tighten everything up. It looks a little bit cleaner and newer in there. So what I'll do now is proceed to fill it with oil before I start mounting suspension bits. Yeah, so there might be a little limited access when I put this this arm at the back here, so I'll do that now. I've made a start on some of the poly bushings, the polyurethane bushings here, and I've done a bit of research into this, and the recommended approach is to put some Teflon tape around the contact surfaces of the bushings, and that way it stops it from squeaking. So what I'll do is first, before I actually slot them in there, I'll just wrap a layer of Teflon tape around there. Put some grease on both before I put the tape on and after, before I slot in the bits in there. Yeah, so I've applied a little bit of grease around the outside. Then You don't need to put too much of this on, just enough to cover it and the lip. Then some more grease on the tape itself. A little bit of grease in here as well. And then kind of press it in. Like so, and the same on the other side, which I won't video. So once they're both pressed in there, we can do the same with the insert. A little bit of grease, Teflon tape, then grease, and push that in. Yeah, that's 4 down, 2 to go on one side, and then obviously the 6 on the other side. So that's all 6 bushings for one side of the car done. 2 and over on the wishbone bit there. The next thing I'm going to take care of now is the wheel arches here. What I've done so far is I've given them a go over with the wire brush attached to the drill. It's kind of removed all the flaky bits there, and I've already sprayed it with a plastic primer because it seems like most of the bits of it's not the underseal that's detached itself, it's the paint that's actually detached from the fiberglass. So I thought I'd give it a quick spray with plastic primer, and then I'm just going to hand paint some underseal on the car. Those seatbelt support mounts, I've also given them a paint. They cleaned up actually quite well. I was going to remove them initially, but I just cleaned them up and they came up really well, so I just gave them a lick of paint. Yeah, I'm generally not a fan of using underseal to cover parts on cars because it tends to hide a lot of stuff, and I won't use it on the metal bit, the chassis there, so I can see if any rust and stuff starts forming. Yeah, then I'll just deal with it straight away rather than let the underseal hide it. However, I've got absolutely no problems at all with using underseal on plastic to cover glass fibre or plastic bits. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let me go and get the tin and get started. Pretty thick stuff. Yeah, as jobs go, actually applying underseal with a brush is not as unpleasant as I thought it was going to be. It's obviously very thick stuff and it goes on quite easily and quite well. So yeah, and I think we'll agree. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but it's looking a hell of a lot better than it was a few minutes ago. And it's only taken me about 10 minutes to do one wheel arch, which is great. Do the other side now. Yeah, the left side has got more exposed plastic bits, but I'm sure it won't take too long to cover that with underseal. Well, let's get on with it. Yeah, looks a little bit better. A little bit more there, a bit, I think. Just applying a bit of anti-seize copper grease before I start putting the suspension components back in. Yeah, they're a bit of a tight fit, these bushings, when you put the arms back in place, so I'm using a bit of washing up liquid and I'm going to tap them properly into this joint there. Make sure they're properly seated. Yeah, these things are difficult to wrestle in. There. Alright, see how good that is. See if I can get the bolt in there now, behind there. Yeah, a bit of a long and tedious process this, getting these bolts wound in, but they are going in. Yeah, it's one of those jobs where you think it's going to take like 2 minutes and it ends up taking most of the evening. It's forcing those bushings in there and getting those attachments on is quite a struggle. You've actually got to take the insert out, put them in first, and then put this top bit, sort of insert it and sort of hammer it into place with this mallet, and eventually got there. And, yeah, quite a struggle. I've made up a new brake pipe there, as you can see. That's steel one, the other one's a copper, I think. Yeah, I didn't film that, but managed to put in place. Hopefully it won't leak. And now I can start putting the hubs and stuff back together. So let me go and get them now. You just know this is going to be tough. I'll try and lever that out with a screwdriver, I think. Lever that in. So now I'm going to bolt in, I managed to wrestle that in place, and now I'm going to bolt in the half shaft here. It shouldn't be too complicated. So that's a half shaft in place. Took me about half an hour, but I was greasing up. I was putting copper grease on all the threads before tightening them up, so yeah, that's why it took so long. Other than that, it was fairly straightforward. The next thing I'm looking at now is the rear shock assembly, and yeah, there doesn't seem to be any bushing or anything at the bottom of the old one there, so I guess that's just gonna slot straight in there, yeah, and I guess put straight onto the car. So let me get on with that. Put a bit of anti-seize copper grease on there before threading it through. Then put the shock on the end there. I've manoeuvred the shock into position now. Probably what I'm going to do is the end of the shock is not quite coming through the top of the chassis there, so I'll just jack the hub up slightly until I get enough thread at the top to put the top nuts on the washer there. Then I'm just tightening the top nuts here. And the final part is obviously just to put the locking nut and tighten that in place. I didn't overly tighten the first nut there because obviously I don't want to damage these rubber bits. Yeah, but I'll put the locking nut, so I'll just secure the locking nut now. Top link now is in place, so I guess we can move on to the handbrake, which is the job I'm least looking forward to. The handbrake mechanism, but yeah. Oh, finally fitted that nasty, horrible handbrake mechanism, which I hate doing. I didn't want to film all the swearing and cursing and all the rest of it that I've been going through for the last sort of half an hour to an hour, but it seems to be in place now, so I've got to just adjust it a little bit and put the disc on and see how much play there is in there. I'm pretty much done anyway. The brake calipers let the side down a little bit here, and obviously the brake discs, but yeah, I've got to lower the car down and tighten all the bolts up as well, but I can't see any real reason to film that, so I'll probably conclude this video now before I attempt the other side. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned, and probably the next episode I'm going to be looking at the exhaust pipe.